Welcome back to Switch to Linux. So today we're going to talk a little bit about finding alternatives, and the motivation for this for me is I'm taking, of course, the Switch to Linux brand, a few other things is under the LLC for my publishing company, and so you guys help out with Switch to Linux when you're helping support the channel. One of the things we're helping to do is pay some bills, of course, but also helping to get a publishing company running and off the ground. And one of the things we're doing right now is I'm working with a business advisor to chat about a few different things and marketing moves we need to do. And so, of course, he also is a follower of the channel. And so we want to find how to do things without using Google or other normie platforms as we're doing this. And so there's all sorts of good services out there. And while we're not completely opposed to using all of those, we do want to find alternatives where we can. And with that, we kind of made a list of the various software that we need, and I had to go around and hunt down alternatives for different things. And so as far as the business is concerned, we have how do we do our accounting? So we're talking about business books. Of course, I have videos on GNU Cache, but I'm going to investigate some other methods as well. How do you do mailing lists, newsletters and mailing lists? We're going to talk about task management. So if you guys are into business stuff, you might have seen Trello. We want to look at some Trello type alternatives and scheduling platforms. If you want to schedule a consultation, then we want to be able to do that in a good manner as well. So that's one of the things that we're going to look at doing. But we also want to talk about other alternatives, software package that we're using in other places as well. And so we're not going to focus just on the business end, but in fact, maybe what we'll do is we'll wrap up on where you guys are at, and then we'll come back and tell you about what I've done on some of the business end in a little bit later here. So anyone else want to start on some of the alternative things that you do for yourself, where you found those, and how you're using them?
I can go ahead and start.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that'd be good.
So yeah, one of the I'm very big into open source, like I know a lot of you guys are, and one of my favorite things to do is I really love networking, and I think that's probably what I want my career path to be. And I found a really good networking firewall software called Psense that I use. And I really like it. It's completely open source, and it's enterprise grade. So you have all these nice enterprise features for free. And it also, if you buy their hardware, you support the project. So that's what I recommend for having a router. You could also go with I know OpenWRT is another one that's meant for flashing on a consumer router. But yeah, I'd recommend if you need a new router to build a router or to buy an official Netgate router from that runs Psense.
Yeah, and that's, of course, what I'm using for my network here. I'm using mine on a Fitlit PC, and it works excellent. Very good system. Quint, you went with a different model.
I went with a box from a company called Protectly. I think it's either Protectly or Protectelli. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but they make these little tiny Psense boxes that are passively cooled. They have pretty good specs. Like I know mine has 4 gigs of RAM. They don't come with an OS by default, so you have to flash Psense on it, but it's not a big deal. It's just like installing a Linux distro. It's not that hard. Okay. It's protectly.com if you're trying to look it up.
Yeah, I have it pulled up on the site so people watching can see it.
Yeah.
So some of these guys looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 6 networking ports, probably.
Yeah.
So how are those split up?
The model I have is
1, 2.
What did you say? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
The model I have is the FW4B. It's a 4-port model. If you go to the top, and choose 4 ports, scroll all the way to the bottom, and it's there.
Okay. So yeah, that's actually pretty close to what I have. I think I guess mine is a 4. I have, and that's of course split into 2 LAN ports, right? So you have 1 LAN port for your input, one LAN port for your output.
It's not a switch. It's like they're totally separate interfaces.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Yeah, the other option is to go with an official piece of hardware from Netgate, which is the company that makes Psense. Those are directly, if you go to pfsense.org and you go to hardware, I think it's on there.
Yep. Yeah, if you are installing Psense now, you have to agree to like their terms of service or something, I believe.
Yeah, there's
So
official PFSense hardware, and if you buy that hardware, you support the project.
yeah, yeah. So very, very good. And I mean, I've been using Psense now for a couple of years, so I really love it. So it's definitely if you're looking for networking alternatives. Mark, you want to jump in on networking stuff here?
Sure, I just realized I ain't on my tech account, but it don't matter.
Okay.
Ocular. I use Ocular as a PDF reader, as an open source PDF reader. Prior to coming to Ocular, I was using Foxit software, Foxit Reader, which is also a great PDF reader. But Foxit Reader started doing some stuff in the installer where you had to a little bit shady, where you had to uncheck stuff to not install bundled software. They package their own installer from like a third party company. But Ocular is really, really good. It's very straightforward. I just recommend checking it out if you're using PDFs at all. Also, I use LibreOffice. I know Tom has spoke endlessly on LibreOffice. I know there have been people that had issues with conversions in the past with newer versions, like newer Microsoft Office files. I have not experienced any issue myself. Everything is very seamless. Whenever I create a document, I write it up and I'll save it as a PDF directly, and it's just ready to go. I've got both the Word document and I've got the PDF, but Ocular and LibreOffice.
Yeah, if anybody actually has a Word document that's not like privacy sensitive stuff that does not open well in Word, if you can send that to me. I'm actually playing around and looking at the RC2 for LibreOffice 7 right now. I had actually had Pizza send me a document, but it works perfectly. As long as, I mean, I've always said, as long as you have the same fonts installed in your system, it works perfectly. The only exception is the word art. Word art is going to be funky.
I've never had a single issue with LibreOffice.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a small portion of people who will, but it's literally like finding the one purple elephant in the world. You know, hey, good luck finding it, and you know, it's you throw out like, well, there's a document that wouldn't work. Well, if that's one of about 25 million documents, congratulations, you get the golden ticket. But as long as your fonts are installed, you generally are not going to have compatibility issues. But the thing that struck me is that the LibreOffice 7 that is yet to be released actually comes with the newer format of docx by default. So it actually used to save docx files as the Office 2007 in compatibility mode. Now it's actually exporting the docx files as the actual most up-to-date docx file format. So if anybody has any documents want me to check it out with, I want to open them up and do a video and just kind of seeing if there's a performance difference between 6 and 7 brands.
I can create a couple documents in Word because I have Word on my Mac and I can just
good. Send me, do something crazy. Give me also like comments. Like Pizza did crazy stuff. He did video embeds, he did graphs, embedded charts. Everything worked perfect except word art.
That's incredible how that team is awesome. Yeah. I was just going to finish up and say Scribbles. Yep. I also use Scribbles from time to time. I have older clientele, and the application for that, for me specifically, is doing do-it-yourself tutorials to where I can attach graphics and text as well. So I have a step-by-step scenario that they can follow with graphics. So that's very helpful sometimes.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, I use Scribbles for doing the recipes on the Home Cooking Hacks channel. So
it's better. It's better to do in Scribbles than it is Word certain things, or I mean LibreOffice. If you're false like we are, it's better to use Scribbles. Scribbles just lends itself to that type of like brochure making, like all kinds of applications you can do with Scribbles. Do scrapbooking, I guess, if you wanted to.
Yeah,
it's an excellent application. It's free and open source.
Yeah. Dan, want to jump in?
LibreOffice for me, I haven't had any issues with it, but I mostly use it to open documents and read them. I don't use it to actually create fresh documents. So I haven't really had, any issues with that part of it. I use my computer probably for the least things than you guys do. You guys probably use it for business and all kinds of other things. Mine's mostly set up for entertainment. I have Steam installed, and I have a nice stack of Steam games that play well on Linux. And I probably spend way too much time doing that than I should.
Well, hey, Well, speaking of that, one of the things on the list, though, is running your actual operating system itself is an alternative. So how did you land on the Linux version, and do you see yourself changing anytime soon from that?
Well, you see, before I came to Linux, I usually used my computer to balance my accounts and everything else with Microsoft Money, and I have iTunes for my iPhone and little things like that. I didn't have much multimedia other than Facebook and things that I'd rather not put on my phone, but I've long dumped that stuff. When I got into Linux, I got into a whole new group of multimedia because, everybody is so helping each other out with Linux. It's a whole different world than Windows was. So I had to actually get into things like Zoom chat so I could do Zooms with other content creators. Telegram, I got into Telegram so I could communicate with the Big Daddy Linux group and the Destination Linux group and a lot of the Linux distribution forums. It kind of just glazed over the IRC whole thing. It's like IRC is almost dead. I got
Audio video.
Huh?
I'm sorry. I was just going to mention audio video. I thought people might be interested in that as well, like audio video players.
I like the Clementine one the best.
Clementine's nice.
Yeah, I don't like Rhythm Box because it is so intrusive. When you start it up, it wants to go through your incomplete music folder and catalog everything. And I find that
I like Lollipop. That's my preferred player.
Yeah.
Lollipop is great.
And I like for video, I use Celluloid, and I like it better than VLC. That's just my preference because Celluloid integrates better with GNOME. But if you're not using GNOME, I'm sure VLC is probably fine.
Yes, I like the Celluloid or the GNOME MPV. I think they're about the same thing. It's a lot. It's not as heavy as opening up VLC. It's kind of a lightweight video player. But it doesn't do some of the things VLC will do. VLC will actually run your DVD player for you. You have one built in your machine where the others will not. There's, times to use something heavy and times not to use something heavy.
I was able to run a DVD player through Celluloid, and it was fine.
It'll play a video, but it won't catalog it just like your TV will for your TV set.
Try switching to Celluloid and see if that gives you that added functionality, and then maybe you can get.
I can open the movie stream, but I can't get the menus to connect all the chapters with Celluloid.
Yeah, well,
Kodi can do that.
That's important. Yeah.
Cody's another even heavier thing to install.
Yeah, Kodi, though, it's designed rather than just a simple player. It's actually designed as a full media center. So it's usually designed as, in fact, when you have Kodi installed, check on your login. It is an official desktop environment. So, that's what it's designed for. It's designed as its own platform. So
I use Kodi too.
Yeah, and I use it every day.
I'm sure you do the same thing, but I have DVDs that are now on my NAS, and I play those with Kodi.
I'll plead the fifth on that.
Discord was something I got into. I never knew that even existed.
Yeah.
So I was into that for a while. I haven't been using it so much lately because it seems like it's falling out of favor with a lot of the Linux people for some reason. However, it's always been a privacy nightmare for games.
I have been telling people since it started it was a privacy nightmare, but enough people in the community wanted a Discord, so I created a Discord. So we have a Discord for Switch to Linux, and I'm actually on it all the time.
I dig through it now and then.
Yeah,
I look at it occasionally. I have other Discord servers that I look at more, but I'll look at
But one time we had a group of buddies that hung out on that thing every night starting at 10 o'clock, and we all caught up with everybody what they were doing that day.
Yeah.
You know, and then if we were doing a distro switch, a couple of us were doing it together, and we could go back and forth and bounce ideas and fixes and scripts and stuff like that, you know, and that seemed to have calmed down lately. You know, I go on to Discord, talk to a friend or something that I met, because I got a friend that lives up in Bad Axe, Michigan, and I like to talk to him every once in a while, and he doesn't even come to his channel quite frequently.
Yeah. So I want to switch here and talk about how do we find alternatives for the software we're looking for. And so what are the methods you guys have used to look for alternatives?
I've just used Alternative 2. I think it's Alternative2.net, right?
I have, Alternative2.net is correct.
I like that one because you type in the name of the software, and under like license, there's like a filter thing, and you can actually choose open source.
Yeah, so I'll search up Microsoft Office right now. So Microsoft Office Suite, of course, commercial, blah, blah, blah. It has listed alternatives. So, so right here, we're looking at LibreOffice as the first thing listed. You can see down here, it says free, open source, and it tells you platforms, BSD, Linux, Windows, Mac. There's WPS, is freemium, Mac, Windows, Linux, Android, iPhone. Here's Apache's OpenOffice. So they have all of these. So there's OnlyOffice, this freemium, open source, SoftMaker Office, freemium, and then they have just a variety of other things that you can hunt down and figure out what works for you. So
also, one of the other things you can do with it, you see where it says all platforms and any license at the top. If you click on any license, it'll say like right at the very top. It's
on the page itself.
On the page, yeah, it says alternate at the very top, like right above LibreOffice. It says alternatives to Microsoft Office Suite.
Oh, okay, any license. Okay.
If you click any license, you can choose open source, and same thing with platforms. You can choose Linux. That's what I like about it.
Yep. So there you go. So if you're looking for something for a particular platform, you can go ahead and do that. So. That is good. That is good. So that's actually, I've been living over there a little bit. So I'd mentioned we're working on developing a business plan for the business. And of course, some of the things you want to do is like Trello, right? So I want to look up Trello because I really don't want to use the normie software because they are grabbing and collecting and storing all this data. I have access to servers. I have the capability to install stuff on web servers and manage and configure them. I've been a web developer for a long time. And if I can spin something up, then it makes a little bit more sense to go with those. So, of course, we can come over here and type in Trello because, well, it's free. I just don't want to give Trello that information. So we can go open source, free, commercial. We can look at our platforms. What I actually want to do on the things I'm looking for is self-hosted. So self-hosted items are going to be the things that I can spin up on my own server. So we can, so there's that one. There's Taiga. There's Resty Abroad. There's Canboard.
What is Trello?
So it's a task management. So you have a team of people and you have a series of tasks, and then you assign different people the tasks, and it's a way to keep track of who's doing what stage of the project we're in, how long is it taking us to do things.
Other open source ones, have you looked at Odoo? That's kind of similar to that.
Which one?
It's called Odoo. O-D-O-O.
Is it on our list here or not?
I'm not sure if it's on the list. I don't have the YouTube up, so I can't tell you.
Yeah, I don't
But
see.
It's kind of like, it has like it's open source. It has a suite of apps. Like you have like a CRM, you have a whole bunch like.
Yeah, I don't want that. We don't want a CRM right now.
We
might do it. If we do a CRM, we'll be doing Suite CRM because I've used it before and it's another open source. So Taskboard, like Trello itself, is its own type of platform. It's not a CRM. CRM manages your customers. This manages your employees.
I think Odoo has that too, but it's like different apps you can install.
Yeah.
So you can only like.
We don't want a big massive solution. So I first tried Taskboard, but there's a problem with Taskboard with. There's some issue with it where it doesn't seem to want to work. So we end up going with Canboard. And so the Canboard system works out very well. It's very much like Trello. I've had to use Trello with some other projects I was doing in the past. Canboard works out well, open source, self-hosted. This guy says no Ajax or similar with Trello. Well, good. I hate Ajax. I'd rather it not be there. So, and it actually is working well. So Canboard is actually working well for us. So there's things like that. Of course, MailChimp, because we want to do mail lists and things. Of course, you already know what I'm using if you follow my channel at all. I don't know if I did it on this channel or not, but I actually use PHP list for that. So again, go down to self-hosted. There's Sendy, MailTrain, Strip.email, PHP list, which they list here as freemium, but it's actually, it follows the model that it's a full self-hosted platform, or you can purchase a hosted solution to it. So that's why it's listed as freemium, which isn't actually correct because it is technically self-hosted or freemium. So, but those are the things we've been doing, is hunting through all the different factors that we need to hunt for things. And so, yeah, Alternative 2 is a great place. So, that's kind of what I've been looking at there. So now we do have a scheduling one, but I'm not married to it because I can't interface with a WebDAV calendar other than Google's calendar. And so if anyone knows something about scheduling, how to create a schedule, there you go.
This is what I know about scheduling.
Yeah. I mean, I like that idea better, Dan. But what we have on the site, what we have on the site is a place where you can go in there and you can click to schedule a meeting, and then you can just you can actually put yourself on my calendar. So then the problem is it doesn't sync with a WebDAV calendar. It can only sync right now with a Google Calendar, but it'll work for us for now. But I need to use something else. So I'm actually using Easy Appointments as the one I'm using right now. So,
can I talk about some more networking I use?
Yep.
See, other than Psense, I also use FreePBX, which is an open source PBX system, which if you're not sure what that means, it's basically a business phone system. And FreePBX lets you, it's completely open source. I think you can purchase like commercial add-ons for it, but it's essentially just a business phone system. And you can, it has everything that most of the proprietary ones do. Yeah, it's freepbx.org.
FreePBX.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I found it. Yeah. That should be the right website.
I use it just kind of just for tinkering. Like I just like to try software like this.
Okay.
Yeah, you can register it to any phone that you like, any desk phone that uses SIP as its protocol, which is an open protocol. It's very standard. And there's a YouTube channel called Crosstalk Solutions that has a very good tutorial on FreePBX.
Cool.
You want to look it up?
Yeah, that'd be cool. So yeah, if you're needing, and that's that little commercial type phone you have back there, right?
Yeah, I have it registered. I don't know where I unhooked it because I think I'm going to get a different one because I didn't like it because it was a Cisco phone. It doesn't like to play well. Yeah, I would avoid Yealink phones. Work the best with FreePBX.
Cool, very good. So, yeah, there's good networking solutions there.
Yeah. I have a couple others too, but if other people want to go, that's fine.
Yep. Anyone else want to jump in? Anything business network? Any other stuff like that? Alternatives related?
I don't network.
Don't network, but you do audio stuff, right?
Yeah, I do. I did more or less. I use a number of things. Audacity, I use that to actually clean up recordings from vinyl records and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a really old Dell laptop I use to actually do a line in right from the stereo receiver to make a big long audio file, and then bring it over to the desktop, copy it to this, and then chop it up and clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the modern way to get your music.
There you go. Yeah, I use Audacity and a few other resources.
Well, they come out with vinyl records. They want you to pay, I think back then, $5 to $10 for a vinyl record. And then they went to 8 tracks. They wanted you to buy this again so you could play it in your car. that, oh no, we can't have 8-tracks, they're not dependable. Well, let's go to cassettes. So your next thing you got to know, you got to trade in your music collection and repurchase it all on cassettes.
Yep.
Well, after a while, oh, CDs, they sound so much better. Okay, so now you have to rebuild your collection with CDs all over again. I've got around all that middle junk, went right from the vinyl, poof, right to the audio file.
Yeah, there you go. And I remember I did that in college. It was like amazing because like I was the only guy in town that could have like 5 or 6 CDs at a time on a single zip disk. I put them all on zip disks.
I have one of the vehicles that were made, very few of them that have a actual USB port for the radio. Mm-hmm. And you just plop all your MP3s nice and filed in a normal Linux filing tree. And the radio picks them up and files them just the same way. You click on the folder, open it up, and all your Led Zeppelins in one. You open another one, all your Carly Simons in another.
Yeah. What was that software again? That's a hardware software combination deal you got going on in order to do the conversion.
Yeah, actually, I record it with VLC. Gotcha. And it's the laptop is a really old laptop. At the time, it had a very expensive, it's kind of rare too, crystal audio chipset in it.
Okay.
So you do a line in from the stereo with the record playing.
Makes sense. Okay.
And yeah, you got to have this. You got to have the stereo receiver for the preamp for the turntable. But cool. You just put that right in and adjust your volumes and stuff like that. Let the whole record, the whole side A, play right through, and then VLC will sit there and just and put your.
Before we dive off too far into the music world, let's wrap up the alternatives, and then we'll go back to the music again. So
cool deal, Dan.
So anyway, so does anyone else have any real quick wrap up tips for finding alternative softwares before we wrap this portion up?
Mine's going to be different from everybody else's because when I came to Linux, I did not know what was available for anything. And I started using just what came with the distros and started learning like that. And then this comes into where we go into this age of Linux and all these new multimedia platforms that I had uncovered and were participating in, where people start recommending, well, you're using Clementine, give Strawberry a try because it's a fork of Clementine, just stuff like that. And I started building a list, of all this, software that I had tried, whether I liked it, should I use it again? And eventually I got to a particular list of software that I'll use and then I'll never use.
Okay, very good.
Whitelist, blacklist.
Mark, how do you find alternatives?
That's it. Let's go.
All right. Quint, how do you find alternatives?
Either stuff that I just hear people talking about or looking at like websites like Alternative2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple others, but we don't have to do them if you're already wrapping this up.
Yeah, we'll wrap this part up. Then you can we'll do audio and we'll do what you're doing here. So, So I like Alternative2, or just do some internet searches, figure out what you want to do and what you want to replace. But the point is that there's always alternatives out there. Just hunt around for what you need and some solutions. So like I'm using Easy Appointments right now, but it's not ideal for us. It's gonna be a lot of extra work. So if anybody has alternative software that would be good for allowing customers to schedule appointments with us and syncing it to my web dev calendars that are not Google, I'd be interested in hearing those. There's a few things in the comments here I'm going to write down and research later on tonight. So, but anyway, those are the solutions. Just get out there and find those alternatives. So thanks for watching this one, guys. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.